Earthbound, the pinnacle holy grail of anybody looking for rare Super Nintendo games. This one's pretty much at the top of the list for any collector, and it's sought by everybody. How did this thing come in my hands? Well, like most of these stories begin, my mom bought it for me back in 1995. The game was clearanced out at like a Kmart or something like that for like $30, because this game at the beginning didn't sell very well here in the US anyways. So, and it came with everything. It was overly priced. It was like $70. I remember my mom just on a whim buying it because it was cheap, and it came with a strategy guide, which unfortunately for me has been lost in time. And actually, this game was lost in time as well. This is kind of a true tale of how I actually lost this game and came in possession of it again. And this is my original copy. This is not a copy I bought off eBay, not a copy I bought off the store, but my own copy that I owned over 25 years ago. It started out, innocently enough, as I wasn't really an RPG player back then. 95, I was 11. So you figure it, that I really didn't know what I was doing as far as RPGs. It was more of this racing game kind of person, and I played the game. I didn't understand it very well, but the fact that it was different from RPGs mean that not only did I have to read everything, but like everything on battle screens were told, you were being told what the action was going on. So for me, I kind of got into it, but I never could get past the first boss because I didn't understand the concept of leveling up. So I'd always like die. And after a while, I gave up. But I like the sound effects of this game. I like the music of this game. The soundtrack was pretty cool. So what I end up doing half the time is I would create new games and then just delete it, just so I can basically hear, you know, the guy as you're going through the menu selection screen where he's like speaking like gibberish. And then you hear him like shout, like scream when the game begins, and it kind of like knocks you off your feet. It's like you hear this chip, it's like wow, wow, wow. There's like this weird echo and just very bizarre. I remember the game just having this immediate effect on me as something really, really weird, but never really knowing like why I felt this way. And actually, for a while, it kind of creeped me out. Just some of the things and some of the way the things looked just were weird to me. And then as I started playing it, yeah, it was like, all right, NES, you know, okay, yeah, whatever. And I would just choose different things, different options, keep deleting my saves over and over again, just making new games up, you know, trying to get into it, and I just never could. Well, the story may have it, I remember I created a game when I was at my dad's house. I brought the game over with me from my house. And I don't know what ended up happening, but between that time I brought it to my dad's house, it disappeared. And I remember not thinking much about it just because, whatever, you know. But I always had this game, but I always had that in the back of my mind as the 90s rolled on and it started getting closer to 2000. I got into PlayStation, Nintendo 64, and all the other next-gen systems after the Super Nintendo. And it always struck me as soon as I found emulation, which was about 2000 when I got a computer. And one of the first games I really wanted to find was Earthbound, because it was one that, because by then I had understood RPGs. I was playing Final Fantasy VII, Chrono Cross, all those great Squaresoft RPGs, you know, Breath of Fire. So I got into that pretty heavily, and I was like, I was like, oh yeah, Earthbound is an RPG. And I started looking through my games, and I just couldn't find it. Well, because it was missing. And I remember seeing it a long time ago at my brother-in-law's house. For whatever reason, I was sitting on top of his mantle in his like game room that he had. It was almost like sitting up there as like a trophy. I don't know. I didn't really know if that was my copy, but I always assumed that it was. And come to find out, when I legitimately popped this game into my Super Nintendo and I saw my name on there, not only did I see my name, but when I saw the name of the dog, I knew this was my copy, because only I knew what my father's dog's name was back then. My brother-in-law didn't have a clue. My brother-in-law obviously played the game because his save file has level 99, and he's right at the end of the game. Amazingly enough, the battery still works. Like I said, I wouldn't put it past me that he put my name in there, but to know to put my father's dog in there, that's how I knew that was my copy. And how did it become my possession? He gave it to me. He was cleaning out his storage, and apparently, well, on my birthday, which is, yeah, on my birthday, he gave me a gift, and I thought it was like a watch or something like that. And as I was opening it, I realized it was a cartridge, and when I unwrapped the Earthbound logo, I nearly shit myself, because that was a game that I haven't held in about 25 years. And to rewind a little bit, back at around the year 2000, 2001, 2002, when I was really playing the game, emulating it, I didn't realize how actually not only special it was, but how fucking rare that game was. Once I became that, I became very distraught, because back then I really wanted to be an avid collector. And to have the Holy Grail in my hands, only for it to disappear later, was kind of, it sucked. It really sucked. And the only games I debated about buying the game probably about 7 or 8 years ago off of eBay. But like anything else, I researched it, because I knew by then if emulation had caught up. You know, now it's almost 20 years later. When I was looking to buy this game, people were totally dumping the ROMs, and they were just emptying out the carts, and they were putting, you know, it wasn't original. The only issue is when they're not original, there's trips in the game. So if I wanted to play the game straight through, it would trigger certain sequences, piracy sequences. I mean, you could basically get to all the way to the end of the game, except the game's going to be extremely fucking hard. But you can get to all the way to the end of the game, except when you fight the final boss. It locks up. And while it's locking up, it's secretly deleting all your saved games. So if you were to reset the system, it would delete all your saved games that you had. So as far as you got, it'd be gone. So you never could complete the game if you pirate it. That doesn't happen on emulation. I can prove that because I've beaten that. Earthbound is an amazing freaking game. It's sad that it didn't necessarily take off in the States the way it did over in Japan. And if you read Japanese or whatever and you want to import Mother 2, it's like a $30 or $40 cartridge to import. But if you want a legit copy of frickin' Earthbound, you're going to be paying at least $275. There are a lot of reproduction carts out there. That is the only thing that stopped me from doing it. And there are ways to tell if a cart's been repurposed, or should I say if it's been tampered with. The best thing to do is, if there's sellers that are legitimately opening up the game to show you the chips, do that and trust that seller a little bit more, but take that with a grain of salt, because you're going to want to compare pictures. If he's showing you the board, find someone that actually has a legitimate copy and look at that picture and then look at it back, because sometimes they'll open it up to say, hey, everything's legit, but there'll be something wrong. Something won't be in the right place, and typically that's a dead giveaway. Not only that, so some of them, a lot of the sellers now actually say reproduction cart. And just recently, I, for the hell of it, did an eBay search. People were buying reproduction carts at $100, and it was probably someone who didn't even know it was a reproduction cart, because they don't say reproduction cart on the actual, they say it in the description, but they don't say it on the title. And when you see Earthbound for $99, and someone just automatically hits buy it now, they think they're buying the legit cart. When you go to look at the description, it says reproduction. They paid way too much. $100 for a reproduction cart is way too much, as most reproduction carts go for about $25. So that guy got a big payday. So they word things weird. But because there's so many reproduction carts out there, it's hard to trust when an actual one comes up. For the most part, if you really want legit, you either want to see the inside of it, physically hold it if you're at a game store and ask them to open it for you, or typically if you find a seller that's selling the entire game within a box, but it's like opened up and spread out. Long story short, even if for whatever reason the cart is not a legitimate cart, but everything else is there, all the packaging, you're probably going to still overpay, but you're not really losing out that much. Complete you're looking at a minimum of around $500 to get this game complete with everything. You can buy copies that are actually certified. Those are the ones that if you want to go for it and you have very deep pockets, go for it. But you're going to pay, I think the last one I saw for everything complete went for over $2,400. So, not $2,400, $1,200. But it wouldn't surprise me if some did go for over $2,400, especially sealed and in the box. So, I mean, you got to look at it that way. But this game, I couldn't tell you the reason why this game had such an impact on me personally. It was very weird and it was very bizarre. It's hard to describe the game without actually playing it. You got this. I'll give you its main themes. Its main theme is friendship. That's pretty much it. That's the entire game is friendship. How that relates into it. They integrated that into a story of, someone trying to take over the world. But when you look back at it, it's all about friendships. And it's very evident because there's a guy that comes down, weirdly, just out of nowhere. And every time there's an event, he makes you say fuzzy pickles, takes your picture, and then you continue on with the game. And as you meet new characters, new friends, new people, the main goal is you're helping them so they can help you save the world. And at the end of the day, what ends up happening is you have so many friends that, without necessarily spoiling, I should say, without making those connections, you cannot beat the game. What's strange is you're forced to make these connections, but just saying, these connections actually help you beat the game in less than a traditional where they just get you to point A to point B. There's a certain part where they actually all help you beat the final boss. I'll say that. Spoiler. Sorry. So it is really a story about friendship, and it's one of the very few RPGs as well. Here's another spoiler alert if you want to skip ahead. Is that once you're done beating the final boss, it's the only RPG that I've seen that gives you the ability to actually go back and revisit every town, every person you've ever met, interact with, and talk to them. And it's more or less tying up loose ends. You get to say goodbye to all your friends, and then it even asks you right before you go back to your house, do you want to go back? Because once you start, the game's over. If you want to tie up a loose end or see what happened in this thing, I advise you to turn back around and revisit all the towns. So this game is it's very unique, very weird. The battle system is something I've never seen really implemented in a console game before. It's very vindicative of almost a point and click game because there was no action on screen when you're fighting. It's all just there, and everything is text based. Like I said, it's almost like an old school point and click game. Everything's all text based, and all you're doing is just moving from location to location. This game, like I said, is the holy grail of anyone looking to collect Super Nintendo. I was damn near brought to tears when I seen this game, knowing that it was not only a copy of Earthbound, but it was my copy that I knew I had lost about 25 years ago. And it was probably one of the best birthday gifts I ever got, was getting that game back into my possession. I had to fire up my Super Nintendo again to play it. It's funny, he asked me, he's like, do you have a Super Nintendo? I'm like, my Super Nintendo has been waiting to play this game for a long time. Even though it's easier to play it emulated with save states and all that fun stuff, it is nice to actually play on legitimate hardware. Just because I can. That's basically the mystery SNES game I wanted to present. Thank you so very much for watching, and goodbye. Oh, one last quick note. Here's the actual cartridge. Figured I'd actually show the damn thing instead of, just leaving you hanging with that mystery photo. Thank you so much for watching.